It's very nearly Christmas, so now is the time where we leave the year that was behind and look ahead to the games coming out over the next 12 months. Only in order to do that this year, we also need to do a surprising amount of looking back. See, some great games came out in 2015, but a hell of a lot of them got pushed back to next year as well. There are 13 in this video alone, in fact, and it's not even an exhaustive list. So, since there's a lot to get through, here are the most prominent games we should have been playing in 2015, but can instead pick up in 2016. We hope.
Come on.
First up is Uncharted 4. Originally slated for release this year, Naughty Dog decided to push back Nathan Drake's swan song until March 2016 so they could get the ending right. Speaking to OPM, Neil Druckmann said they'd spent so long with the handsome, aging serial killer that they wanted to make absolutely sure they tied up his story in style. Still, as far as delayed games with old male protagonists go, Uncharted 4 is hardly the worst offender. Okay, so maybe nobody was massively surprised by this one, but come on, I just want a new big Zelda game. It's been 9 years since the last one, is that really too much to ask? Yes, says Nintendo. The Legend of Zelda Wii U was originally scheduled for a 2015 release until March this year when producer Eiji Aonuma announced the delay. The reason it turns out is because of a newly discovered sense of exploration now the series has gone open world. In other words, the devs have too many ideas to want to rush it out, which is kind of lovely. Unfortunately, it's not the only Nintendo game to be pushed back into 2016. Star Fox Zero was also delayed, though I suspect the reason for this one was because it was in danger of being a bit rubbish, rather than there being a wealth of new possibilities. Next up is Homefront: The Revolution. This one was originally being developed by Crytek UK, but after that studio closed, it transferred over to Dambusters in July 2014, Dambusters being a studio owned by Deep Silver. Given how much bouncing around this game has done, no pun intended, it's no real surprise a bit more time was needed to see the project out. Still, they did at least have time to send a promotional truck to Gamescom, complete with a shotgun-wielding man who was very particular about where to stand while having your photo taken.
Okay, yeah, you're so commanding. Okay, alright.
While we're talking Deep Silver sequels with high body counts, Dead Island 2 is also now scheduled for a 2016 release. Not only was it delayed until spring next year, in fact, but developer Jaeger was also moved off the project after their vision for Dead Island 2 apparently fell out of sync with Deep Silver's. The game is still in development, but any hopes of seeing Dead Island 2 in 2015 have long been, well, dead. Also in the delayed games with a high body count camp, Hitman was supposed to arrive on the 8th of December, but Square Enix instead pushed it back to March 2016. Apparently this is due to the game's release model, whereby they give you an initial chunk of the game, then add more locations with later updates, which sounds suspiciously like the current release models, if you ask me, but never mind. Apparently they wanted to make the initial chunk bigger, which doesn't sound like a bad plan, so I'm willing to let this one slide. The same cannot be said for XCOM 2 though, because that delay, quite frankly, still hurts.
The time has come to reclaim our world.
After a fantastic reveal earlier this year in which Firaxis glibly announced humanity lost the war in XCOM Enemy Unknown, we were later hit with the considerably less exciting news that we'd have to wait until the 5th of February to get our hands on the turn-based strategy game.
Let me tell you a story.
Next up is Fable Legends! Yeah, forgot about that one, didn't you? Or so Microsoft was hoping, anyway. Fable Legends was proudly included in the Best Xbox Lineup of All Time presentation at E3 2015 before Microsoft just sort of stopped mentioning it. Still, at least there is some good news to be had from all this. This week we found out Fable Legends will be entering open beta in spring next year. So while it's no surprise to learn a Fable game isn't exactly going to plan, we can at least reasonably expect a 2016 release date. Maybe. From Microsoft to Sony now with Ratchet & Clank. The rebooted franchise is now due in spring 2016, held back because it needed polish. Amusingly enough, the game is styled after the upcoming Ratchet & Clank movie, which has also been delayed. Just 4 to go now. The Banner Saga 2 is the next entry in this slightly disheartening, saga. Announced back in December 2014 and demoed at Gamescom this year to a very impressed Chris Pratt, the Banner Saga 2 was, nonetheless, pushed back to Q1 2016. Mojang's Cobalt, meanwhile, was meant to land in October this year, but is instead coming out in February. Fair play to Mojang on this one actually, they delayed the game because while they were done working on features, it was buggier than they felt comfortable with. Funnily enough, that was the same reason Keiji Inafune and his team gave for delaying Mighty No. 9, which should come out in Q1 2016. The delay, as well as making fellow video producer Ian Higton very sad, also made the original completion estimate of April 2015 from the Kickstarter campaign seem rather ambitious. And finally, it's time we address the elephant in the room. The shooty, teen-talky, door-closing elephant. I refer, of course, to Tom Clancy's The Division, a game delayed more times than there are actually Tom Clancy games in existence. Okay, so it's been delayed twice.
Okay. Oh, there goes the turret.
The first came in May 2014 when Ubisoft announced The Division would be pushed back to 2015, and then in May 2015 it was announced the game was going to slide into 2016. Still, there's a good chance we will actually see it next year, assuming we can get through May, which appears to be a cursed month for The Division. And that's about it for the games of 2015 that weren't, but I've almost certainly missed a couple. Add your own in the comments below, or just let us know which delay bothered you the most. Don't forget to like and subscribe for plenty more from Eurogamer. Bye!
Yes. Oh, and that thing spotted me. Oh god, no, it just triggered this! Oh god! Okay, so that moving two tiles has screwed me. Moving 2 tiles.
They might have patrolled up on you anyway, but that was a terrible move. What were you doing, Chris? What were you thinking?
Oh man.
All right.